first and foremost, it's request network, not request finance. I see the confusion, there's a lot. All right, so solving the financial reputation puzzle. Let me add some context here first. So at Request Network, we have this big goal of trying to make the financial system more inclusive, more efficient, and especially bring DeFi to everyone. And to do that, you need to have the proper tools, and specifically, some parts of the financial system are yet not available on the decentralized world. One good example of that is accessing credit, right? So in order to access credit on chain, you need to have some kind of risk assessment, and that currently doesn't exist. But let's take a look at the road so far on the DeFi lending. So DeFi has been growing a lot in the last couple of years, and the lending is not an exception. The TVL grew from 1 billion in 2019 to 120 billion in 2023. There are a lot of active users, especially lenders, as you can see there. And in order to, but the thing is, when you compare these numbers with the traditional finance, it's insignificant. And the thing about DeFi lending is that it only supports, or mostly supports, fully or over-collateralized loans. And if you want to bring the next billion people into the industry, this is a product that supports and works very well for the financial world, but it doesn't really work for the real world, right? People can't support staking 100% of a loan they want to take. The average user and small and medium companies can't really do that. So we need to open this by being able to provide under and uncollateralized lending on DeFi. So why is that not happening now? I'm pretty sure you guys know we don't have a good way to assess the reputation of an entity on chain. Following the normal process, if it's in traditional finance, when you want to get access to credit or a loan, to make it simple, you go to a bank, people give you, the bank will ask you for a bunch of papers, you'll have to share your income, stuff like your assets, your credit history, and then they will make you a proposal based on the risk that they'll have on providing you that loan. And that's exactly what we need to have in the crypto world. So we need to find a way to assess the risk that we have on providing these loans on chain, and assess a way to provide, to see if the probability of the loan getting paid back. And for that, I think that a reputation system on chain would be super important. And the two things that we need to create a reputation system, the two most important things are a decentralized identity. So decentralized identity is one of the premises of Web3, right? The ability to own, for every internet user to own a unique identifier that is stored, that is connected to software and stored on blockchain. I don't want to get very deep on the decentralized identity, but you can, for the sake of simplicity, let's think of it as like a LinkedIn profile that instead of you adding the data there, every data there is backed by hard evidence. So things like your transactions, your accomplishments, your contributions, your identity, everything verified. And the second thing, and here is where I want to focus a little bit more, is that we need context data. And the blockchain, it's not very good on providing context for your transactions. If you go on Etherscan and take a look at your transactions, it's very hard to understand what they were for, right? And we need to create some kind of layer that can add that context, because in order to create a reputation system, you need to answer questions like, what was this transaction for? Was it to pay a supplier, to pay an employee? What was the due date? Did we make this payment on time, or was it delayed? All these details can affect your reputation, especially your financial reputation in this case. And that's exactly where request network is coming in. So what we do is that we add context to your transactions. If you make a payment or create an invoice through any of the builders on the protocol, you'll have this contextualization of your data saved, and we do that by writing everything on IPFS and then hashing it back on chain and writing it in a smart contract to make it immutable. But we are not trying to create something that already exists in Web 2. A reputation system on chain can be way more efficient than what it's possible now to get on Web 2. So it's more efficient, it has less errors because everything is automated and verified on chain, and it's also way more transparent. But so let's take a look at a couple examples. So let's start with open labor marketplaces. In there, they are represented as talent marketplaces, but it's a bit more broad than that. Things like Fiverr, like Uber, like Grab, Bolt, all those applications rely a lot on reputation, right? Everyone there has a score, and that score is influenced by the ability they have to perform some kind of service. But let's take a quick look at Fiverr, for example. You can go to Fiverr, you can go get a freelancer there, or perform some kind of freelancing services there. And the ability to have your reputation higher than the others really affects a lot the amount of work that you'll get and the amount of visibility you'll get on the page. So there's a lot of people gaming the system by creating these groups on Facebook and exchanging reviews between themselves, which really removes the purpose of having this kind of reputation. If you could have this on Web3 and you could link the reviews to an exact payment or an invoice, it could help a lot reduce this type of exploit on the system. Let's take also a look at Uber, right? Well, Uber, if you create an account on Uber and you are a driver for the last 6 years, you've been putting a lot of effort into it, and somehow you got like this five-star score, which is really nice. But you start seeing that a lot of other applications are coming on, they are offering better prices, and they also start getting more clients. And you are a great driver at Uber and you'd like to switch to Bolt. You really need to start your reputation all over again in the other platform, right? Because Web2 reputation is linked to the platform instead to the person, right? So in Web3, you could have this type of reputation linked to a decentralized identity, and that reputation can move between platforms instead of only staying in the same one. The same applies a little bit to e-commerce. So just to explain a little bit how we are building this at request, on one hand, we are gathering data from accounting apps, invoicing apps, and payment apps on behalf of the users, and collecting this data into the protocol. This data can then be used for all kinds of things, not just the ones there, but on the loans example, it can be used for a credit score or some kind of financial reputation that will then be shared with lenders, insurances, whatever you need. And just to finalize, and we get a lot of these questions, so we are not a blockchain. We are an infrastructure on top of the blockchain. We don't serve the end users. We have a couple of builders that do serve the end users, and if you use one of those builders, you'll be adding your data to request. And lastly, no, we are not gathering or stealing any kind of data. Everything is stored very decentralized. It can be public or private. And if it's private, you're the only one that can access it, or you can share it with whoever you want to access it. My name is Francisco. I'm the protocol lead at Request Network. Thank you.
Before Francisco leaves the stage, do we have any questions or comments around on-chain reputation and maybe the implementation of how it will work? Maybe?
Yeah, sure.
I'm very interested in reviews. I like what you said at the end. This is basically the new feudalism concept in which we are built. I'm from the Airbnb world in a way, right? So whatever you do on Airbnb is done on somebody else's land, and when the king decides you're out, you lose your listings and you lose all your reviews,
Exactly.
which is horrible and happens all the time. So we need decentralized reviews. Now, if I want to build an Uber, an Airbnb, or whatever on-chain, how do I integrate request network?
So
In short, like can I use it as a protocol or?
Yes. So basically, so request will not create that reputation or the system for you. So what we do at request is that you can use request to manage all your transactions, and your transactions will be recorded at request. And
so it's a data availability software in a system?
It's like a data layer.
A data layer, okay.
That adds context to the platform. So we are not building the reputation side. I just wanted to
That's a use
share
case.
it as a use case. But if you have a platform like Uber that is decentralized and you are using request, you can verify your transactions or the context of the transactions that you are making to build that kind of reputation. It's a bit more like
Thank you.
Sure.